dead when I was 5 years old in a commercial cooler. And when I say left for dead, this out in the country, a child molester, he, got weird, and he put me in a commercial cooler, locked me in there.
Victor Marks's family was living in Mississippi when he was molested, and it was his family who found him in that cooler.
I was unconscious, but when I told them what had happened, they wouldn't found the person. And they actually beat him and then hung him from a tree behind my mama's house.
That was actually just one of many traumatic experiences in Victor's life. He's going to share about some of those other experiences and how God's now using him to minister to other victims of post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. This is GPS, God, People, Stories. I'm Phil Fleischman.
And I'm Jim Kirkland. We'll also hear from Billy Graham later. He'll share how you can put the past behind you and have a fresh start, even if you've gone through terrible experiences like our guest Victor has.
Did you ever wish that you could be starting all over again with a fresh start? Some of you are hurting. Some of you are ready to give up.
Hear the rest of Billy Graham's message in just a few minutes. But if you want to learn now about starting over with Jesus, then go ahead and check out this website. It's findpeacewithgod.net. That's findpeacewithgod.net.
GPS.
God. People. Stories.
My father didn't claim me as his kid. When my mother was pregnant, he actually said, that ain't mine, and which left, I think, a big hole, a vacuum in me of just insecurity, a sense of rejection.
Victor was born in Lafayette, Louisiana in 1965. He's one of 6 children, but his biological father wasn't his mom's only husband.
My mother, bless her heart, she didn't do great in the marriage department. She ended up marrying 6 times. I went to 14 schools and 17 houses we lived in. And in that environment of instability, there were times I suffered abuse, physically, emotionally, sexually.
One of the examples of that abuse is the story Victor told about being molested and left in a commercial cooler. Remember, Victor said his family hung the man who molested him.
He survived that. They were trying to scare him, justice, and waited till he passed out and cut him down.
In the midst of all the trouble he saw growing up, Victor always believed in God, but he wouldn't surrender his life to Jesus until after he left home.
I was born Catholic, raised Baptist, became Pentecostal. My mother put us in a Christian school back when it wasn't very popular, and I'm thankful for that. So I knew who Jesus was, but because of the inconsistencies,
understand that Jesus is the Son of God and that he is alive.
When you see Jesus on a cross, you tend to think that he died for us and he loves us. But man, when I realized he was alive was the night we left, I would say the most violent stepfather we'd lived with. And we were all hiding in a closet because he was drunk and he was shooting out the lights around the house. And my mother, we were hiding. She's saying, shh, don't cry. And he's coming in the house and he's yelling for us. And he's got that pistol. And then my mother did the only thing she could. And she just started saying, the blood of Jesus covers us. The blood of Jesus covers this door. And I remember thinking, the blood of Jesus, that's kind of weird. But okay, the blood of Jesus. And do you know, my stepfather, when he came to the room, the door was open, but he physically couldn't enter the room. There was this restraint. And we know either the Lord had an angel there or whatnot. But and that's when I went, man, Jesus, all right.
In spite of beginning to understand who Jesus is, Victor turned to drugs and alcohol around the 6th grade as a way to cope with the turmoil in his life. Then, after high school, he joined the Marines.
Right out of high school, the Beirut bombing had happened in 1983, and that really, for me, was a sense and a direction.
The Beirut bombing took the lives of 241 American servicemen. A suicide bomber detonated a truck bomb at a U.S. Marine barracks there. A group calling itself Islamic Jihad claimed responsibility.
For Victor, the bombing gave him an outlet for all the anger from his childhood. A misguided outlet, for sure, but nevertheless an outlet.
Actually, I hated Arabs. I mean, I had this fixation. I transferred my anger of my childhood to, you blow up on
Of how Victor came to finally surrender his life to Jesus.
That story begins with Victor getting a letter from his biological dad.
me to church, and it was the worship music, and then seeing men worship God. I think that got me, because I thought I was a Christian. I'm raised in the South. And I was like, I don't have a relationship with God like these guys do, and they were guys I respected. So June 22nd, 1986, I surrendered my life to Christ, and crazy enough, immediately, God started changing me from the inside out.
Emphasis on God started changing him. Victor remembers what he did when a deacon at that church approached him that morning as he was praying at the altar.
He put his hand on me. He said, "Can I pray for you, young man?" I jumped up to around. I grabbed him, pulled my fist back. I said, "Touch me again, I'll break your jaw. Touch me." And I got I'm snot crying at that point. And my dad was on the front pew, and the church was about empty. And he goes, I know the boy. Leave him alone. He'll hit you.
Victor continued to grow in his faith, and he finished up his active duty service in the Marine Corps in 1986. He would go on to become a pastor for a while. He also had a successful career in martial arts.
And he also tackled the trauma of his past.
So we ended up finding a really, really solid therapist who specialized in childhood abuse for children and adults. And plus, my time in the Marine Corps and some things that happened, and just life in general. And man, God started working in my heart. And he's a master at taking apart this twisted ball of twine that's just a knot. And he knows how